Okay, so today's video, I want to talk about something I'm dealing with right now and have many times in the past, which is looking for a job. Not the entirety of looking for a job because that would be an extremely long video. So today I want to focus on applications and specifically online applications because they're a bit ridiculous. And I think if someone were just entering the workforce and they were on the autism spectrum, they might find it kind of difficult to go through that process in some ways. So, first I would say a lot of jobs that I have had, I got through people. Well, not a lot, but a few. If you can get a job through a friend or family member and, they know that you're good at whatever it is, reception skills, cashier job, whatever it is, get the job through them because doing a job search on your own can just be very frustrating in general. But, okay, so specifically, back in the day, probably when I was a teenager, let's say, in the late 90s, early 2000s, it would not be uncommon to go into a store, ask for a paper application, someone could get you one, you could either go home or do it there, turn it in, not a big deal, all your basic application information, your name, your address, your contact information, the jobs you've held, any special skills, that kind of thing. However, even as early as, let me see, when I was looking for jobs in 2008, so 8 years ago, nowhere that I went could give me a paper application at all. Now, today, in 2016, I have been able to procure paper applications from hotels. Those are the only places, and I have worked at a grocery store when I was young, and I know somebody who got a paper application for there. But other than that, every job that you have to submit to, and it's a cold submission. If you're an actor or whatever, if you have somebody introducing you to something, it's different. Like I worked at a restaurant that someone I knew was a manager at a sister restaurant. So they were able to get me in there with no problem. Now, let's say on my own, I'm applying to a restaurant, or I prefer retail. Okay, so, and this might not be as helpful to you if you're trying to get like a really good job and you have a bunch of degrees. I have a degree, but my degree seems to only make, in this area, make it possible for me to work minimum wage jobs. So I would rather not use it right now because it's somewhat stressful and I feel important, and just try to get a plain retail type of job because I'm going to get the same amount of money anyway without as much pressure. Okay, so the point is, when you have the online job applications, you start off usually just like a paper application, all your information. And for me, my big deal with that would be putting down previous jobs. So I don't have the best work history because I try to, that old adage, it's something like, you can stand something for so long. I can usually put up with a job for a certain amount of time, even if it's something I hate or something that's very challenging for me. But eventually, I can't work that job anymore. And I don't tend to keep them as long as I would want to. So my problem with applications is having too many jobs in a short period of time. If you have any gaps, like right now I haven't had a job in almost 2 months, about 2 months. If you have gaps for other reasons like your health or family or anything like that, they're going to ask you about it. On the application, there might be an area to put it, and if you get an interview. So that's something that I find frustrating when I'm putting out a bunch of applications. Right now I have 30 in, and no one has called me. That's another issue. If you're putting in a paper application, it would seem like it would be okay to call them and check on the status of the application. If you're doing an online submission, the problem is that it's being screened by a computer first, and someone might never see it. It's not like if I apply at a local department store and then I go through everything and I get like the automated email that says it went through. that I can then call and ask to speak with a manager a week or so later and say, just wanted to check in, blah, 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 blah. No, that's not going to work. It makes no sense. They might not ever know that you submitted. There's also the issue that something I only found out within the last few years, I didn't know when I was younger, which is that HR, human resources departments, are made to post certain jobs to the public. But then they're just going out and not going out, but they're just hiring the jobs out to people they already know or friends, family of people who already work there. So you're putting in an application for, I'm just making up anything, Little Caesars, and it says they're taking applications, but in reality, that position's already filled because they already know somebody who could take the position, but if they don't post that, they'll get in trouble. Okay? So then the thing that is the bane of not just my existence, I would say it's not just owing to people who are on the spectrum, but the stupid personality questions. There are a few different places that do not require these, but almost every job now, like I said, entry-level, retail, food service, whatever, is going to ask you a series of questions. I remember a few years ago, it was usually about 30 and under questions, and they're multiple choice. Now, it's not uncommon for them to be around 100, and to come in multiple parts. So, I have no problem if it's a retail job, and the questionnaire is 10 or 20 questions, and they're actually putting you in a scenario like, the customer came in to return something, how would you handle this situation? And they're usually like a really obvious one, check to see if it's within the time to return the item, that kind of thing. Or, argue with them and don't take it back. The really obvious one that's not a real answer, like a good answer. But those I have no problem with. Like, that's actually screening you for the job. The stupid ones are like, I hold myself in high esteem. I am a born leader. Sometimes I want to set fire to things. What? Okay, seriously. I once applied for a food service, like, hostessing job, and this company must have had problems with workers on cocaine, which, what? And some of the screening questions were like, how many times have you done cocaine? Well, none. What? And if somebody was doing that stuff, they wouldn't tell you. So, I was talking to someone about this, and we both agreed that you kind of are meant to fill these things out like a sociopath who is good at lying with leadership capabilities. Because a sociopath would just think, I'm good at everything, I can lead everyone, I can get along with everyone. You don't necessarily have to like them. Now, it's just stupid. It's a waste of time. And if you're doing more than one application in a day, it gets really tedious. If your internet is not up to par, it just drops out. But in general, they're stupid, and I can't help saying that. They're really stupid. A lot of them have a scale of like 5 or 6, and it'll be, I very much agree or I very much disagree. What I have learned from reading about things like this, and I do think this is true because I did have to take one of these to get into a job I really wanted, and it was just like the pre-screening thing, is that they want people with strong convictions. They don't want you to be wishy-washy. So you're supposed to put you very much agree or you very much disagree the most. So, and sometimes it'll have like a choice between two things. So let's see. And sometimes they're both bad. I sometimes misplace things. I sometimes can't get along with people. Well, neither of those are good for a job, but I don't want them to think I have no people skills in a customer service job. So I'm going to say I misplace things. Now, on this one, I might not do the strongly agree so much, but if you have two good things or a good thing and a bad thing, so obvious, then you're going to want to pick one or the other. There's also the issue that people usually tend to go by if they like you and your personality. But if you're being screened on the computer, they're never even going to meet you a lot of the time. And if you've ever had an issue working at a company, and some companies own multiple stores. So let's say that you quit a job. My issue is usually that I am a very hard worker, and whenever I work somewhere and I eventually have to quit, they don't want to take my resignation. and then I just have to stop coming. So they're putting it down in the files as I was fired sometimes, where I actually did try to quit, but no one would take my resignation, which is ridiculous. So then if you try to go on that website for the same place or a place that's owned by the same company, you're going to usually get like a rejection email pretty soon. Where if someone met you in person and they see maybe you worked somewhere 5 years ago and you've grown up. Maybe you had a job when you were 19 or 20 and now you're 25 and you've had a lot more, experience. You're much better at things. None of that is going to be taken into consideration often. That's really frustrating. There's another part of the application that is not on every application online, and I've never seen it on a paper. I don't think I've ever seen it on a paper application or any paper forms that I've had to fill out as a new hire somewhere. And that is disclosure of a disability. A lot of them do not make it optional to say if you are or are not disabled in any way. It's usually yes, no, or I don't want to say. Now, to me, if I were reading that, I don't want to say basically is yes, and you don't want to tell us. I don't like that under the disabilities, they do have autism, but the fact is that a lot of us do not collect any money from Social Security disability or whatever you have in your country if you're not in America, and we don't receive any special services as adults. So the only reason you would tell somebody if you have a disability is if you need specific help with something, right? But in a customer service oriented job, why would you tell them that your disability is people skills? That's just shooting yourself in the feet, and they're going to make up another reason not to hire you. I'm sorry, that's just the truth. Now, obviously, if you're in a wheelchair or something, you need to put something like that down, because then you can't do the physical things the same way that someone else would, and then they can make, adjustments for that. I understand that. That makes perfect sense to me. But if it's something cognitive, it's going to be a prejudice. Honestly, it is. Just like when I was actually working at a restaurant one time, I saw a young African-American black man, whatever you want to say, very eager, seemed like he was going to be a great worker. They were very nice to him, and he turned in an application, and as soon as he left, they made very derogatory racist comments and threw the application in the garbage. That is really messed up. And there's also a place on most of them that asks for your ethnicity and your gender. I could see this being a problem either way, because if they do have a quota to fill on we need so many people of a different ethnicity who aren't just white, Caucasian, whatever the hell you want to call it, maybe they're actually going to pass by somebody who is, or, I mean, in a big business it doesn't seem like they could be that racist, but maybe some of them are, and they actually are weeding out people of different ethnicities. I don't know. Why is it so specific on which one you are? I think that might have something to do with, trying to help or whatever, and saying they have to fill the quota for people of different things. And that might be a thing with the disabilities as well. But I don't want to be a quota. There's also the thing on there about tax breaks, which is how long have you been unemployed? If you've been unemployed for a long time, you're coming here through an agency. Did you get any help from the government? Food stamps, healthcare, money, whatever. I kind of don't like this either, because they get so many thousands of dollars for hiring someone who has been on that. Now, it is very hard to get any assistance from the government, which you may know if you've had to go as an adult with no children and had to apply for any kind of help with your medical or anything. Incredibly difficult. It's even a pain in the butt to try to get help with food. Now, that may make you not try to get help. I don't have any health insurance right now. My last job was full-time and paid a good wage for where I live. And I couldn't afford to get health insurance while I was working there. I certainly can't afford to have it while I'm unemployed. I'm not going to the government and asking for any kind of help with health care, even though I might be applicable for Medicaid right now, because it's a pain, and it's just a huge thing. Now, I have been in a position one time where I had got assistance for something, and I put that down, and I think that might have been part of the reason that the store hired me, because they do get that break, and maybe they have to have a quota of so many people who are like down and out, or whatever you want to call it. So that's also another thing. So basically, I feel like these online applications are a pain. Most of them, a lot of the stuff is irrelevant, and the fact is that even if you get through all the screening and the job is actually available and they think you're qualified and they don't think you're overqualified, I don't know if putting down my degree is, but shooting me in the foot, but once you get in there, it's if they like you or not anyways. It's if you can pretend to be personable for 5 to 20 minutes, depending on how long this interview with the manager, supervisor, HR department, whatever is. So, in my opinion, the online applications are terrible, and I hate them. Out of 30 applications, I got 4 or 5 turndowns and nothing from the other ones. And like I said, you can't really call about an online application. So I think they're a pain, and I will be making more videos about jobs and issues I've had getting a job. And let me know, what do you think about disclosing about autism or any other disability you have that's not visible with the naked eye? Because I think it's very tricky. And another thing, one more thing. I think if you were just starting out on the job hunt, we have a tendency to be very logical and honest, and you can't be those things sometimes. Because if you're honest, you're not going to put that you're the best person who's ever existed. If you're logical, answering a bunch of questions over and over, which sometimes they do because they want to see if it's going to trip you up when the personality profile is not going to work either. Maybe you feel dishonest not disclosing that you're on the spectrum or whatever your issue is. They're all things that might bother you, and they still bother me a little bit, and I've been doing this for a long time. So that's just my 2 cents on job applications. I would say, like I said, I would say put down relevant information, try not to make anything look bad, put no about them calling old bosses if you quit. They probably won't call anybody anyway. References, I would put somebody that has like a steady job and seems like somebody that they would want to hire as well. You don't want to put somebody who might seem flaky. I can come off as flaky. I don't want to put somebody else who's flaky as a reference, although I've never had a job call any of my references either, but I have had jobs call me as a reference for somebody else. And like I said, very strong opinions on the stupid polling questions that they give you for personality tests, which are stupid. But there you go. Oh, most important, make sure that you put your current telephone number. That is an actual good thing to put down in case they do call you. And your email address. If you use 2 different emails, I have one just for jobs and like professional stuff, and one for shoe sales or whatever. You're not going to give them that spammy email that you use for fun. So good luck out there. Let's keep trying. Or, if you just want to watch this and in the bookmark it in the future in case you got to come back and do these things, and you want to be reminded that you're not the only person who thinks that they're stupid and annoying. Have a great day. And I think next time I'll be talking about the actual interview process.